Uh, Look, really interesting, I thought, to see this Jill Biden contribution. More on her in a moment, but when she's asked about the gas, she just says, don't even go there. I mean, we've seen them, haven't we? Isn't that the problem? You can't just say it doesn't exist for Joe Biden. We know the other bloke makes his fair share, but he's got a bit of a record.
Look, Joe Biden's been making gaffes for decades. He's famous for it. He's done it domestically. He's done it internationally. But I think the more concerning thing with Joe Biden is the pauses during the interviews, the points where he loses his train of thought. The president's supporters would say the president is outrageous. He says outrageous things, but he's authentic and he's sharp and he means to say those outrageous things. That's the difference between him and Joe Biden. The Republicans are trying to paint Joe Biden as sort of a weekend at Bernie's candidate, being propped up by the squad, by Kamala Harris, someone who's on the ticket but not really in charge. So it's imperative to him that he comes out strongly in the debate. He's had the warm-ups earlier this year with the primaries. He should be in good form, but of course the president is hard to beat in an election debate. Last time Hillary threw everything at him and he just wiped it off him and it ran down his back.
That's why it's so fascinating, though, isn't it, for Joe Biden? The pejorative is thrown at him that he was in his bunker, whatever they like to call it, not making a lot of public appearances during the height of, we're still not out of the height of COVID, but that was his reason at the time anyway, that he's seen as somewhat stiff. He just needs to go in, throw a few punches. It doesn't even matter, I think, if some miss in this, but just seem to be out there, to be, energetic, I suppose.
Yeah, that's right. He's got to look commanding, and he will. He's got to look dignified, and he will. I think he's got to appeal to America's higher instincts, and he's got to be able to make criticisms of the president's temperament and personality without dropping into the gutter, and that's a fine line, but I think he'll be able to do it. I think the other key thing is what issues become the defining ones of this debate. So you saw the topics there. There was a SurveyMonkey poll of Ohio voters yesterday, which showed that twice as many are thinking about the economy and their jobs as are thinking about healthcare and the COVID response. Now, that's not a good outcome for Joe Biden. So as much as the personalities matter in this and the presence, it's also about which issues come out of this debate as being the main sources of difference between the candidates and the ones that voters will be thinking about as they make their decisions. And some of them are already voting. Virginia is already casting ballots now for the election.
Interesting to see how much Jill Biden is used as well in that classic sort of humanising role. One of the issues, though, tax and Donald Trump's lack of paying taxes. He's responded, of course, to the reports out of the New York Times, Donald Trump not releasing his tax reports, his annual tax reports ahead of being elected, of course, in 2016. They were, released anyway, if you like. Here was Donald Trump's response to the New York Times report.
It's totally fake news, made up, fake. We went through the same stories. You could have asked me the same questions 4 years ago. I had to litigate this and talk about it. Totally fake news. No, actually, I paid tax, and you'll see that as soon as my tax returns. It's under audit. They've been under audit for a long time, and when they're not, I would be proud to show it. But
tax returns is the term I was flailing for, but this surely has to be something that we can see Joe Biden come out with. First of all, yes, you can go, successful businessman, you get write-offs. We all get that. But, to what extreme were the write-offs happening to be paying no tax for 10 out of 15 years? And also just the claim you can't release them. The IRS has said, not true, go for it.
Yeah, it's pretty unprecedented. It's been a convention for US presidential candidates to have their tax records poured over every aspect of their lives, and the president's resisted that. I think there's three key things that come out of this work by the New York Times. The first is that the president is much better at selling celebrity than he is at selling real estate. $425 million US they assess he made from The Apprentice and marketing of his brand related to The Apprentice, while his real estate deals haven't been so successful. The second thing is just the complexity and the scale of the litigation he's involved with the IRS and the US Congress over a $72 million US tax refund he got in 2014. That is currently sitting for review in a US congressional committee on taxation.
And if they rule that that refund needs to be returned, that's going to be an issue, quite a significant issue for the president financially. And the third thing is it paints a picture of these golf resorts as extraordinary loss-making ventures, and it puts into context decisions like the selection of President Trump's Doral Golf Resort for the G20 leaders meeting, I think it was. There was an outcry over that, or that decision was rescinded, but he's lost $160 million on that golf course, and so it helps you to understand why perhaps his administration wanted to steer a big, high-profile leaders meeting to that venue. It also shows the relationship between the president and his children and children-in-law, how they're on the payroll. It's a complex picture. We haven't had a president quite with business interests like this. I think the public has a right to know how his personal finances might impact his public decisions.
Just finally and briefly looking at the polling, look at the Real Clear Politics average. So many polls over in the US. It's probably the best way still of looking at things, to take this average right across all these various polls, and it still shows for now pretty good news for Joe Biden. You can see solid leads in a lot of these battleground seats. The issues we always factor in here is the late swings that happened last time, and that silent Trump vote. But when you look at Wisconsin, Pennsylvania and Michigan, all at more than 5% a lead at the moment.
Yeah, and look, the interesting thing about some of this polling is in the swing states, you look at Arizona and Florida where the margin is quite tight. The vote for Biden is strong in the cities, not much stronger than Hillary Clinton's, but in the outlying areas, the vote for Trump is much stronger this time than last time. Now, last time we know the polls undercounted Trump supporters and overcounted Democrats who didn't turn out for Hillary. But it's close enough that it's still a race. I think Biden's dropped down from where he was before. The debates will wake everybody up to the fact that an election is on. People will start to focus on this in those states. Pennsylvania, I think, still is more likely to go to Biden than to Trump at this stage. But Florida is going to be an extraordinary one to watch. I mean, there were so many people thinking that Trump might have even gone to the extent of choosing a Supreme Court nominee from Florida to shore up the vote there. But we'll start to see, I think, the impact of the debates on these polls in the next few weeks, and that'll give us more of a sign of where this is all heading.
Well, it all kicks off tomorrow. James Brown, thank you. We'll talk again soon.